And you look at the numbers, the audience for AEW, despite all of those big, all those big signings, the audience is flat. It's not growing.
Right.
And that if you're a rational person, and that's the other thing people in the wrestling business say, yeah, but we know the wrestling business. You may know the wrestling business or think you do, but you don't know all about television. Right. If you're not growing your audience, you're backing up.
Bro, you said something exactly. You echo what we say on the show, but the funny, it's like, and you get, I don't even want to use the word offended. It's just kind of irritating when you hear them like promote these shows on the level of like, well, we're like when they say we feel we're at the level that WCW was when they went head to head with Monday Night Raw, and you're sitting there, and then you want to sit there and say, okay, well let's look at that. Let's look at the 2-year point from the time the Monday Night War, the real Monday Night War, started back in 1995 to 1997. What happened to the wrestling audience? It grew on television. Both shows, like it was a buzz, like of wrestling actually grew. You look at wrestling 2 years ago, bro. The highest rated show that AEW's ever done has still been their first show. They've never gotten above that, like in 2 years. And I'm going like, it seems weird to be self-congratulating during a period of time when, like, yeah, you're still underwater. And I just think that's funny. Like the Dirt Sheets kind of like still kind of forward this narrative that everything's great and everything's. And like people like us are looking at the basic graph and it's like going down. You're going like, guys, what are you talking about here? It's like there's obviously something wrong because fans are leaving the shows. Not their shows are not growing. And like so it's just fascinating to watch.
It's interesting, and that comment which caused me to stand up and spout off a little bit. I got Tony's asshole rash and chapped it. But it was like, wait a minute, when Tony came out and said, yeah, well, we're at the same point that WCW was back in 1996. No, the weren't, bro. I mean, we were beating WWE in head-to-head competition. Oh, by the way, against Monday Night Football during the football season, and we were still beating their ass. AEW's got about not even half of the audience of SmackDown, about 2/3 of the audience of Monday Night Raw. How could you and by the way, we were generating $400 million in revenue at the time. How can you make that statement and keep a straight face?
Did you want to point? Well, here's the thing: you want to point to one little number on the like in school. The teacher writes all this on the board. He circles one number, and that's the demo. It's like, hey, look at that right there. Like you're pointing at this little number in the big picture. And you're trying to point to that as a win every week, and we're going like, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? That if they win the demo each week, as opposed to winning market share, meaning like total viewership, when you win a demo, what did you win? The demo's something that like is used in negotiation when you renegotiate your TV rights. Like winning the demo for that week, you really don't win anything, do you?
Well, I think the broader pictures, and here's what happened. Somebody told Dave Meltzer what a demo was and how important it is, and then Dave went off on the tangent and everybody else followed suit. Here's where a demo is important. For advertising revenue, demos are important. Advertisers are willing to pay premium dollars for a specific demo. That is important. There's no question about that. That's a part of business every single week. That's important. But then you got to take a little step back and take an even, kind of bigger view of that. And it's like, okay, I'm an advertiser. I'm interested in 18 to 49-year-old males. And I can get 750,000 of them over here on WWE, or I can get 350,000 of them over here on AEW. I don't care what the percentage is. I just want the most asses in the seats that are 18 to 49 I can get. Where am I going to buy those? Where am I going to buy those eyeballs? I'm going to buy them on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown because there's more of them. And they're there more consistently. And it's a tried and true product. Now, if you're USA Network, you have the ability to do make goods against that audience. So because you've also got Next, you're selling advertising in both shows, so you can offer up a higher percentage of demos. And guess what happens if you don't sell them? You do what's called make goods. There's remnant inventory in every television show out there for the most part, and you have the ability to make goods. So while you may get a higher percentage of that demo on any given week, over the course of a year, advertisers don't give a f***. They really don't. It's where am I going to get the most value for my dollar? And that continues to be WWE, regardless of what a week-to-week demo has to say.
I think it's funny that the demos, they keep promoting them as like these are important numbers, and every week you're looking at 0.27, 0.31. Bro, these are like breathalyzer numbers. It's like we were doing like, remember the ratings? And we were like 6.4, 5.84. These are like 0. whatever. And I'm like, and I still like hate this narrative that we see is like there's never been a better time to be a wrestling fan. And I'm like, then where did all the fans go? You know, it's just like, where are all the fans? If there's never been like, it's like I think there's mixed messaging going on with their with the way they're trying to market this product.
I think the play devil's advocate to that is if you're like a real hardcore wrestling fan, which we aren't, we used to be, but we aren't anymore. There's a lot of wrestling out there now, you know, and MLW's out there, and Impact's out there, and Raw has 3 shows, and Tony has 4 shows. So if you're like a real wrestling mark, it's probably hasn't been a better time. And easy access to matches on YouTube. You know, we came from the videotape era. You know, we had the and VHS tapes. So I think that's kind of what they mean, like for the real fans.
Yeah, I mean everything's different. And again, that's when I say I don't want to, you know, on anybody's parade because I really don't care. I don't have a dog in the hunt. I don't give 2. But it's interesting to watch people try to get themselves excited to the point where they get bent out of shape when you point out something that's just really inconsistent or not logical. But
it's a very sensitive generation, and it's a generational thing because half the guys that are in the business now would not have been able to hang out in our locker room. They would have had a very hard time. You know, it's just a different generation, different mindset. You know, those were like men. These are kind of like kids, you know. Guys back then were doing other shit. Unfortunately, out of the left to untimely deaths, these guys today, they're a lot smarter. They learn from our mistakes. They're on the video game and on the phone. Bro, once the match is over, they're on their phone to see who put over their match. You know? Yeah, I'm serious.
I always tell people, like, the first day I walked into my first day ever at work at WCW, I walked into the Center Stage Theater literally 2 minutes after Orndorff and Vader had their scrap. And this is my first day on the job. And I'm thinking, like, Paige was the first guy I saw. He had this look on his face like, did you see that? You know, I'm like no. So, you know, they told me what happened. I look in there and, you know, Vader's got the ice pack on his face, everything, all that. And I'm looking around this locker room. It's my first day. I grew up in the suburbs of Marietta, Georgia, went to Marist High School. You know, so like I walk in this
girls' soccer team.
And here's like, you know, Rick Rude, you know, and I go to shake the guy's hand. He's got these big, strong forearms and big hands, you know, and like, you know, the boss man's there, and you know, Kurt Henning's there, like big, you know, big guys that like larger than life guys you see that you would see on TV. You grew up watching, like you're in the locker room with them now. It's like, wow, these are grown ass men, you know. Bro, you walk in the locker rooms today and it's like 11th graders. You're these kids they're like kids. Like everybody's a kid. I'm like the grown, and I'm not like a big barrel chested, you know, big guy. But it's like I'm kind of like the grown man in the room, and I never felt that way when I went to work before. I felt like, damn, these are grown men. I'm kind of like a kid. You know, it's like, you know, I'm the grown man, and these kids are like, but the dynamic in the locker room is so completely different than the way it used to be. It's fascinating to watch how that's evolved, you know.